Hello. It's me again, and I don't really know if anyone's watching these, but it's kind of a good like release for me to get a little break from the unfortunate uh the unfortunate crosstalk. I was gonna I know what I was gonna do. Okay. I was gonna read to the people who are doing all this ingenious work with the I got to get a clean coffee cup. This is making me sick. Um, the work that the ministry is doing with software right now. It originally started out as a book that I saw, and the book was entitled "Everyone Matters," and it had a cover that was gray, sort of. It came from the Fort Smith Baptist Convention, and I think it came from them. And it had a cover that was sort of gray with everybody's types of little icon pictures, like a lady, a child, a man, a woman. And then the only images that were in color were the police, the EMS, um, police, EMS. There was another, maybe the fire department, maybe, and who was the other one? Police, EMS, fire department. Well, I think anybody, basically anyone with a legal right to apprehend or help someone else, or have access to the entire emergency broadcasting system. So it started out a few years ago. I found that book lying around, and I could immediately see the intent of the book. Everyone matters. That's wearing a uniform and has credentials to get into any type of situation with uh, well, especially the emergency broadcast system, because that's the one I noticed the first. That's the one I noticed first because I was getting car war, which means somebody drives by you and latches your even inactive Bluetooth with their Bluetooth via another phone number. So what they did was they used the phone number from my doctor's office to link me and into that phone number, and that phone number has become an enormous mess. I mean, to be quite honest, they have a recording of me, some people here in town, when I was a recording that was made when I was 5 years old, and had a full blown Southern accent because I didn't grow up in the South, but I hadn't entered school yet. I grew up in the Midwest, and so that naturally just once you get around children and everything that speak a certain way, then that just naturally, blends in. But I was really shocked when I heard I had a full blown Southern accent. And they somehow were doing a voice hack, and they covered this several times on YouTube, and Twitter, about the voice hacks and how illegal they are. And I ended up hearing that tape multiple times, and apparently it was literally triggering Amber Alerts. So we're sort of like, these people are never going to understand the severity of what they're doing, and apparently they enjoy the violence and the publicity. And so I was quite shocked when I saw that Everyone Matters thing, especially knowing that they had purchased a glut of cell phones from Iran. And I'm not sure exactly what the guy's name was, but it was a kind of revolved around a faith at home type program. And that's not the guy. I don't think that's the guy who purchased the phones. But I was like, okay, they told me that somebody was always trying to get my SIM card and get physical access to my phone. And they told me that they had gotten these phones from Iran because they were cheap. And I was like, why in the hell would you buy phones from Iran? Isn't that where I think it's called Sputnik was over there? So basically, just buy it back. And a lot of anger here, a lot of slamming of the doors, and I'm not going to let that intimidate me because they shouldn't have access to any of my equipment. So there shouldn't be any response, any emotional response to what I say. I'm not sure why people would want to deal with some really sort of sensitive special ops type programs for a duration longer than just a short duration because it will literally drive them crazy. They lose. Um, I can't explain it. It's not my job to explain it. But anyway, so then after a lot of problems with especially one band that became a sort of a target for their, I don't know if it was a romance or a hatred or both. And it was really strange. Like somebody told me, oh, that person is living in your little iPod. I'm like, yeah, okay, what in the hell are you talking about? And referring to one of the people, both two different women who sing as men. I'm not sure why, because I've never seen two more feminine looking women in my life. And so that was really weird. and and then so on and so forth, so forth. And then apparently everything they realized that things were out of control, but instead of actually taking action, they published another book called "Living with Families Under Leaky Roofs." And it was the Three Bears without Goldilocks. So that was kind of another sort of visual. It wasn't an analytic or anything. It was just kind of a dumb, stupid thing to do. Living under leaky roofs with your family, and I think we all know what leaks are. And like I said, there were the Three Bears, but there was no Goldilocks, so that was out. That was gone. Goldilocks was gone out of that story, and it's been not interesting and not inspirational. Um, it's been really strange to see how a person can, their soul can just, if they had one, I guess, just disintegrate. It's impossible to actually connect with these people after they've been using these technologies. And there's some mixtures of I've really grown to question. Like, I'm not a very religious person, but I've really grown to question what exactly the Reformation was about, and what inspired that personal connection, that one-to-one connection with a divine offspring of God, because that took it in a direction where it's very me, me, me. You read the Christian Ten Commandments, and it's thou shalt, and I don't know where they made this language up, but I don't think it's really Old English or even King James English. I think they just kind of made it up. Thou shalt not put any other God before me. Now, to me, that just sounds really weird. There's a lot of me's in there, and it's all about a personal relationship. And now it's turning into a one-to-one. There's not a lot of philanthropy that goes on in these types of situations. But I've never really had to deal a lot with uh, evangelical, um, evangelical born again types or whatever, and they don't really seem to ever talk about it anymore. It's almost like they're going through like phases where they're no longer allowed to hang pictures of their family in the house, and they may put little plastic eggs around the yard, or everyone will take a wooden chair out to the mailbox at one time. It's so strange. I've always lived in civilization, so I don't know exactly what's going on with the ritualistic behavior, and using, instead of just going over to Walmart and getting like some pest spray, putting borax and sugar in large amounts out on the front patio, and unusual findings of little birds and dead toads, and oh, it's incredible. But like I said, that they came on at the end after several different groups had passed through. None of the groups before wanted to be involved. They got sucked up into it. So I don't know if this is the original group that had sucked them into it, but I do know that they really suffered. There were some natural disasters in their areas, and there was always some type of a connection that I could make with at least one part of these different phases of this going through communities. And there's always been at least some element of caring, of not wanting to hurt other people. That they had a kind of a code, even if it wasn't a great code, but they had a code of trying to avoid violence. This group totally different, totally different. And it's a drag. And but I'm still glad I'm me, you know. I used to say I don't have to wash my soul with OxyClean. Um, it's been a rough ride. I just want to shower. I just want them to stop bothering me. And I it doesn't. I'm just wondering. Okay, it's been 3 years, and for some reason you seem to still be targeting me. And everyone else that I have encountered along the way found that me being connected to anyone else was a bad thing, and therefore wanted to avoid me. Most people always was like, "Oh, you're either a cop or you're turning people in." I'm like, "No, I'm not. Just leave me alone." Everyone knows I'm the one who's like, "Shut the fuck up." I just don't want to talk to people about dumb stuff. But there was always a little bit of personality and character in every other group that came through. And one group, I probably shouldn't say this, but you know what? Hey, it's been 3 years. There was one group who actually accomplished something, and there is only one group. Okay, I don't know exactly what this program's called. It's sort of brought on some new elements now, but it is definitely a program in it, and they gave me a very detailed. Uh, they gave me a lot of details about how it works and how it's programmed, and even the language and how it works. And there was one group that actually did make a movie. Not a reality TV show, but they did get the financing to make a movie. It's called Mall Cops. And God bless them. You know, they accomplished something with this no one else has. Having said that, I don't think it's going to win any Academy Awards, but at least they actually got the funding to make the movie. And I think they made a second one too. And they were a good group. They were rough, of course, but rough around the edges, but they had a heart, and they cared about that movie a lot. And when I laughed at them for the quality of the movie, it hurt their feelings. So I was like, okay, here's me, and I'm like, you know what? Maybe I shouldn't be so judgmental because they told me from the beginning that they didn't want to get into this, but they did want to make that movie for some reason. I haven't watched it, but they wanted to make that movie, and it was a big deal to them. So out of everyone who does this, well, actually, that's not true. There's some another group that did accomplish some stuff, but I'm not going to talk about that. It's a little bit more technical. The one thing that there was all along the way that this group doesn't observe is do not talk to her about computers. I'm not sure where that came from, but every group had the same instruction. They were not to talk to me about computers. One group did because they just did. Um, but this group doesn't really have anything to talk about. And they also didn't get into my computers. No other group has gotten into my computers. If they do get into a computer, these other parties, it is so fast. And I mean, they can rip through a swath of the US within minutes. These clowns have been hanging around for 3 or more years. They're getting away with well, it's okay. Apparently they're not getting away with it, but you know what? How about a lot of us are tired of it and we're ready as Mucinex would say, let's end this. You know, this is crazy. It spans all the way from, I think the hot spots are Indiana, uh, Arkansas, part of Arkansas, maybe a little Ohio, Wisconsin, but definitely in California. I don't know exactly where it's been. I think West Virginia, and I I don't have time to organize everything here. I'm just trying to I'm trying to get my brain focused into not having to deal with their trip. I don't want their trip to be my trip because I chose not to ever get involved at all with any of. It wasn't hard with the other ones. It was there was a rapport built, and there was a chain of evidence almost, because a lot of the people were interested in bringing people to justice. That's all I'm going to say for now.